This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
President Shimon Peres today led Israeli condemnation of the Goldstone Commission's report on Operation Cast Lead, calling it a mockery of history and a failure to distinguish the aggressor from those acting in self-defense. More in this report from IBA's Dennis Zinn.
Israeli officials today rallied in their attempt at damage control following the publication of the findings of the UN Gaza report. The document, which was presented to the United Nations in New York yesterday evening, accuses Israel of committing war crimes in Gaza during IDF Operation Cast Lead earlier this year, including the application of unbridled military force, the disregard for civilian life, and the use of Gaza residents as human shields.
The mission concluded that actions amounting to war crimes, and possibly in some respects crimes against humanity, were committed by the Israel Defense Force.
The report recommends that Israel should conduct a thorough investigation into its military activities during Cast Lead and present this to the UN Security Council within 6 months. If Israel refuses to cooperate, the report suggests that the Security Council should refer the matter to the International Court for War Crimes at The Hague. The report also alleges that the Hamas government in Gaza carried out war crimes against Israel and suggests that the Palestinian administration should conduct a similar investigation. However, Goldstone concedes that it would be much more difficult to apply pressure on the Hamas to comply.
There's no question that the firing of rockets and mortars was deliberate and calculated to cause loss of life and injury to civilians and damage to civilian structures. The mission found that these actions also amount to serious war crimes and also possibly crimes against humanity.
Government officials today said that the early decision not to cooperate with the Goldstone Commission, which was perceived as hostile, was correct in light of the so-called one-sided findings presented in the report.
The mandate of the Commission prejudges on any conclusion before an investigation is even conducted. It already pre-establishes Israel's guilt. It says clearly that Israel is guilty of massive human rights violations and a number of crimes that are already listed in a mandate. So the Commission was really a farce of a human rights fact-finding commission. It wasn't a real effort to seek the truth.
Israel's UN ambassador Gabriela Shalev today said Israel categorically rejects the findings of the Commission and will now turn to friendly members of the Security Council to do the same. Dennis Zinn, IBA News.
The father of abducted IDF soldier Gilad Shalit said that he welcomes the Goldstone report as it relates to his son. Noam Shalit said that Gilad is being held hostage by Hamas in violation of international law, but is not a prisoner of war as cited in the report. Noam Shalit pointed out that the report condemns the Hamas treatment of his son, which nevertheless fails to adhere to international guidelines regarding prisoners of war. Noam Shalit also said that hostage-taking is a serious war crime and his son should be released immediately. In another reaction, Nicole Goldstone, the daughter of Richard Goldstone, insists that her father is a Zionist who loves Israel. Speaking from her home, Nicole told Army Radio that her father thought hard before agreeing to accept his assignment, but believed that he was doing the best for everyone, including Israel, by heading the inquiry. Nicole conceded that the report contains harsh allegations against Israel, but said that her father would not have agreed to head the UN Commission if it was to the detriment of Israel. Nicole insisted that the fact that the report also accused Palestinians of crimes against humanity shows that her father tried hard to be balanced. U.S. Middle East envoy George Mitchell had a busy day today, holding 2 meetings with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and one with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Following the meeting in Ramallah, PA officials said that the Americans have accepted the plan presented by Prime Minister Salam Fayyad, calling for a de facto Palestinian state within 2 years. In Jerusalem, officials said that the talks with the Prime Minister have focused on the possibility of holding three-way talks between Netanyahu, Abbas, and U.S. President Barack Obama. Palestinian sources said that the meeting will most likely take place, although not necessarily will signify the start of peace negotiations between the two sides.
The American envoy to the Middle East, George Mitchell, ended a second meeting in Jerusalem with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The meeting lasted 2 hours, but the two officials still failed to reach an agreement on freezing settlement construction.
According to a statement released by Netanyahu's office, the two men have agreed to hold a third meeting on Friday.
Walid al-Omari reports on the second round of talks between Mitchell and Netanyahu from Jerusalem.
One meeting has occurred after the other, but the Israeli position towards the American demand for a settlement freeze has not changed a bit. Netanyahu and Mitchell failed to agree on anything in their second meeting, except on holding a third meeting on Friday. Mitchell will attend this meeting after he returns from a trip to a number of Arab capitals. He's trying to make the situation ripe for talks in the three-way meeting between Abbas, Netanyahu, and Obama, but this has not happened yet. The Palestinian-Israeli peace negotiations are still irresolute.
In
the best case scenario, I think that Netanyahu will accept a temporary settlement freeze. However, Palestinians reject this, and this is why Mitchell's talks have failed. All that he can do is to go to the Palestinians and Arabs. If he comes on Friday with the same demands, Netanyahu will not be able to accept them because a political crisis would erupt in Israel.
نتنياهو حسب ما رشح من معلومات ظل على موقفه الداعي إلى
According to NewsLeaks, Netanyahu still proposes a 6-month settlement freeze, which would not include occupied Jerusalem and the 3,000 settlement units that are already under construction, or the public installations. This leaves the American envoy with only one option, which is to exert more pressure on the Palestinian Authority. The U.S. wants to recruit Arab capitals by persuading the Palestinian Authority to make additional compromises. However, Palestinians refuse to resume the peace negotiations as long as settlement construction continues on land designated for their future state.
We have reiterated to Senator Mitchell that obligations must be carried out. We have obligations that we must fulfill, and Israel also has obligations that it must fulfill. Stopping settlement construction, including construction under the pretext of natural growth in Jerusalem, is an obligation that Israel must meet. If the Obama administration can achieve this, then there is no point in talking. We should not be meeting only for the sake of meeting.
This Palestinian position was reiterated during Mitchell's recent visit to Ramallah, which led Israeli officials, who met him several times, to conclude that there must be an American understanding with the Palestinians towards a unilateral declaration of a Palestinian state, even if the occupation continues. The agreement to hold yet another meeting between Netanyahu and Mitchell indicates that Israel feels there will always be more opportunities to make peace. It is likely that Friday's meeting between Mitchell and Netanyahu will also fail. Thus, it is possible that Mitchell will have to hold additional meetings with officials from both sides in order to pave the way for the three-way summit that will be held in New York under the leadership of President Obama. Walid al-Omari, Al Jazeera, West Jerusalem.
ويبقى معنا من القدس مدير مكتب الجزيرة وليد العمري. وليد إذن
Al Jazeera Bureau Chief Walid al-Omari is still with us. Walid, Mitchell has not been able to get any commitment from Netanyahu, so why is he going to hold a third meeting with him?
يبدو أن الآمال معقودة حاليا سواء عند نتنياهو أو عند ميتشل على أن
It seems that both Mitchell and Netanyahu still hope that Arab states will pressure the Palestinians to make more compromises, which would pave the way for holding the three-way summit. The American president is looking for any kind of progress, even if it turns out to be illusory. He wants to make it look as if the peace process has resumed between the two sides.
انطلقت من جديد بين الجانبين لأنه من الواضح أنه بعد الاجتماع الثاني.
It became clear after the second meeting between Netanyahu and Mitchell that he has failed to mediate an agreement between the two sides. Therefore, it does not look like Friday's meeting will have any surprises. Netanyahu's position has not changed at all. He does not even try to accommodate American positions, but instead does the opposite.
نتنياهو لا يقترب من المطالب الأمريكية وإنما يبتعد عنها. هو بدأ الموضوع منذ.
When Mitchell started the shuttle diplomacy trips, Netanyahu used to talk about freezing settlements. Then he started talking about decreasing settlements, and now he's proposing a limited period settlement freeze with many exceptions. If these exceptions are accepted, the construction of settlements in effect will remain the same. Netanyahu does not want to stop settlement construction in Jerusalem, and he wants to complete the 3,000 settlement units that are under construction as well as the public installations.
News reports reveal that Israeli occupation authorities are digging a huge tunnel under the Silwan Mosque towards AlAksa Mosque in a plan to Judify occupied Jerusalem. In addition, the occupation authorities have installed an electric circuit that would enable them to cut communication to the mosque. This has raised Palestinian concerns about a new plan against AlAksa Mosque and the holy city of Jerusalem.
Palestinian figures and institutions warn that the new huge tunnel the occupation authorities have been digging under the Silwan Mosque towards Al-Aqsa Mosque poses an imminent threat to the Holy Mosque and the old city of Jerusalem.
تقوم المؤسسة الإسرائيلية بحفر شبكة كبيرة من الأنفاق.
The Israeli institution is designing a huge network of tunnels under Al-Aqsa Mosque and surrounding areas. It was revealed recently that a huge tunnel is being dug under the Silwan Mosque, south of Al-Aqsa Mosque. This indicates that there is a serious threat to Al-Aqsa Mosque and the entire Arab part of Jerusalem.
تحيط بالمسجد الأقصى المبارك وبالمنطقة كلها وبالقدس العربية من أجل تهويدها.
The objective is to Judify Jerusalem and to demolish Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is a real threat. We urge the Arab and Islamic world to stop and deter these plans before it is too late.
Palestinian figures expressed concern that by digging under Al-Aqsa Mosque and surrounding areas, Tel Aviv may be weakening the foundation of the mosque.
We are concerned without a doubt. Israel has a savage plan to weaken the foundations of Al-Aqsa Mosque.
This came as Israeli occupation authorities installed an electric circuit that enables them to control communication to Al-Aqsa Mosque. This created additional concerns for the Palestinians.
The Israeli institution has installed an electromagnetic circuit, which will enable them to cut communications to Al-Aqsa Mosque. Without a doubt, there's a source of concern, because Israel may be planning to act in a way that might create strong reactions from the Palestinian people. Therefore, Israel intends to withhold information on any protest or event that may take place within the holy Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Attacking the Arab city of Jerusalem and its holy Muslim and Christian sites is part of an intensive plan to Judify Jerusalem and erase its Arab and Islamic identity. Youssef al-Mahmoud, Syrian Arab television, occupied Arab lands.
says stability in the Middle East could never be achieved where a position of nuclear weapons is maintained. Qasem Gharib-Abadi of Iran's nuclear negotiating team made the remark at the General Conference of the IAEA on Tuesday in response to a statement made by the Director General of the Israeli regime's Atomic Energy Commission. Let's listen in.
Since the delegate of a non-party to the NPT made some false and deceptive allegations against the Islamic Republic of Iran, I join to other speakers on expressing serious concerns over Israel's nuclear program and shortly enlighten the realities in this regard. It's shameful that a regime with a high dark record of atrocity, aggression, possessing an established nuclear weapon program, and also violation of various Security Council resolutions recommends compliance to the resolutions of the Security Council and observing the NPT members' obligations. Islamic Republic of Iran is of the view that stability cannot be achieved in the region where possession of nuclear weapons maintained, which allow the only non-party to the NPT to threaten its neighbors and the region.
The UN fact-finding mission led by Justice Richard Goldstone on Tuesday released its long-awaited report on the Gaza conflict, in which it concluded there is evidence indicating serious violations of international human rights and humanitarian law were committed by the Israeli regime during the Gaza conflict, and that Israel committed actions amounting to war crimes and possibly crimes against humanity. The report also says Israel did not cooperate in the investigation. The UN findings conclude that Israel fired the chemical agent white phosphorus in civilian areas, intentionally fired high-explosive artillery shells upon hospitals, and failed to provide effective warnings to civilians or UN workers before attacks. It also claims that Israel used Palestinian civilians as human shields and deliberately attacked Palestinian food supplies in Gaza.
Palestine received a special honor. It was chosen to be the honorable guest at the annual Festival of Humanity held by the French Communist Party. Muna Said reports from Paris.
Palestine, with all of its deep meaning and symbols, was chosen to be the honorable guest for the Grand Annual Festival of Humanity organized by the French Communist Party. Many people came from afar to learn more about Palestine. Palestine has a strong presence in all corners of France, especially on the political level, which is very important. These movements are in solidarity with the rights of the Palestinian people. The case of political prisoners and the turmoil of the entire people as a result of the occupation dominated the festival. One of the most prominent guests was Fadwa al-Barouti, Marwan al-Barouti's wife.
I traveled to all the cities and saw people celebrating and expressing their admiration for Marwan al-Barouti by granting him honorary citizenship.
Mrs. al-Barouti held a series of forums to discuss the occupation and al-Barouti's new book, The Promise, that was published in French. What is the situation of Marwan al-Barouti after he was elected for the second time in the legislature and the central committees of Fatah?
His health is good. I visited him a week before I came to France. His morale is high. The only painful thing for Marwan al-Barouti is the recent situation of the Palestinian people.
Palestine has a strong presence in the minds and hearts of the French people, and it has gained a special place here on all levels. Muna Said, Future TV, Paris.
Syrian President Bashar Assad arrives today in Istanbul, where he will meet with Turkish President Abdullah Gül. The two leaders are expected to discuss the Middle East peace process. During Assad's visit, Damascus and Ankara are expected to announce the formation of a Strategic Cooperation Council, which is the first of its kind between the two countries. The announcement may generate concern over the nature and function of such a strategic council, especially the military aspects of it. The Syrian-Turkish summit comes after a decision by the Syrian president to allow more water supplies from Turkey to flow down the Al-Asi River. Syria and Iraq are facing a water crisis due to the building of Turkish dams on the Euphrates River. In another development, Assad said he was willing to pardon Syrian members of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, if they surrender their weapons. Joining us in the news studio is Hayyan Nayouf, a Syrian journalist. Syria and Turkey are seeking to improve their relations. Why now? Why is Syria seeking to form a strategic cooperation council with Turkey?
The formation of this council represents the highest level of harmony in the relations between Syria and Turkey. Several months ago, an announcement was made in the Syrian city of Halab that Assad would visit Turkey soon and he would announce the formation of a strategic cooperation council. As we all know, Turkey became involved in the situation by mediating indirect talks between Syria and Israel. Turkey is now playing a major role in the region by mediating the talks between Syria and Iraq over the bombing crisis. The Arab League has not taken part in the mediation efforts between Baghdad and Damascus. The formation of a strategic cooperation council between Syria and Turkey will benefit Syrians in particular and the entire region in general.
So far, we don't know much about the nature and function of this proposed council. Is the picture more clear to you?
There are a large number of economic and trade agreements that both Turkey and Syria have signed. The formation of a strategic cooperation council includes both military and security aspects. The security aspects include issues such as borders and counterterrorism, especially regarding the Kurdistan Workers' Party. As far as the military aspects are concerned, nearly 2 months ago, Syria and Turkey carried out a joint military operation along their borders.
As you know, a Syrian-Iraqi delegation has arrived in Turkey to discuss the deteriorating relations between Damascus and Baghdad. Do you expect that a meeting will take place between Assad and the Iraqi Foreign Minister Hushair Zabari?
No information is available on any meeting being scheduled between President Assad and Iraqi officials. The matter rests on the outcome of the meetings of the Turkish-Syrian political and security delegations. The meeting is being held under the supervision of the Secretary General of the Arab League. According to these conditions, a meeting may take place between Syrian President Assad and Iraqi officials.
Syrian journalist Hayyan Nayouf, thank you very much for joining us in our studio.
France's interior minister is facing a political storm. This news comes after the minister was accused of racism over remarks he made against a French man of Arab descent who recently joined his party. The minister expressed regret over what he described as useless and unjust comments. However, several human rights organizations called for the resignation of the minister. Our correspondent Mohamed Wamousi reports from Paris.
This committee represents the vast majority of human rights organizations in France. They have come to the headquarters of the French Ministry of the Interior to question its minister over the racist remarks that he made against a Frenchman of Arab descent. Members of the committee have finished questioning the minister, and they are about to release a report.
A debate has ensued over the remarks of the minister. Before judging him, we wanted to question him and hear his side of the story.
In an internet video that was recorded during a meeting for the Sarkozy-led ruling party, a woman introduced a Frenchman of Moroccan descent as a new member of the party. And this is how the minister responded. When there's one, that's all right. It's when there are a lot of them that there are problems. French opposition parties and anti-discrimination organizations quickly accused the minister of racism, and they called for his immediate resignation.
We expected Sarkozy to take decisive action. However, Sarkozy and the minister are similar when it comes to racism. Remember how Sarkozy described the Arab youth as scum? Sarkozy didn't take action, so we demand the minister's resignation.
The call by the opposition for the resignation of Sarkozy's friend and the minister in his government was received lightly by the French president, who tried to downplay the incident.
I want everyone to focus on their jobs and not to waste time on this nonsense. I'm trying to do my job and I ask everyone to do the same. We're facing major problems. We have little time and we cannot afford to waste it on this incident.
The French minister's remarks and the controversy that has ensued brought the issue of ethnicity and diversity in France back into the spotlight. The question is, who is truly French and who is not? Mohamed Wamoussi, Dubai TV, Paris.
Khalid Sheikh Ahmed masterminded the September 11th attacks in Pakistan. 8 years have passed, yet Pakistan, a U.S. ally, is still subject to terrorism. American drone air raids have increased Pakistani citizens' hatred for America. Others believe the United States policy after the September 11th events is what created the Taliban.
It's praying time in the suburbs of Islamabad. 8 years have passed since the September 11th attacks planned here. This is something Pakistanis have not yet forgotten. Islamabad became a major ally of Washington and has received billions of dollars of aid from the United States. Pakistan has paid a high price for this alliance.
What happened on 9/11 in New York is happening here right now. Every time you go to the market, you wonder whether you'll be able to go home safely, or if there's a bomb nearby waiting for you, or maybe the Taliban will launch attacks, and that's just unacceptable.
Most Pakistanis believe the alliance with Washington is the reason behind these attacks. The extremists have a stronghold here, close to the Red Mosque in central Islamabad. Citizens criticize the American air raids that primarily target Pakistani grounds. These attacks give the Taliban justification to carry out military operations.
Most Taliban members did not appear in Pakistan until after September 11th. Following the U.S. attack on Afghanistan. After Afghanistan, all these problems came into Pakistan.
All these problems created in Pakistan.
Washington and Islamabad are fighting terrorism side by side, but most Pakistanis are angry about it and believe that this alliance brings war to their lands.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.